It has been a frigid but dry Friday here in Indianapolis. Sadly, it is all downhill from here.
The first round of snow heading our way ahead of tomorrow's arrival. And the impact of this winter snow system is really tough to overstate. By the end of this weekend, listen to this. We don't talk about amounts like this very often. Central Indiana could see between 5 and 12 inches of snow, depending on where you are in the band.
And that's why we've got live team coverage for you tonight at 6. Emily, Brandon, and Logan all breaking down local and state preparedness plans. But let's begin tonight with Robbie's in the Weather Center with the timing and projected snow totals. Rob?
Yeah, I think we've got about 24 hours before the snow will start to fall. We are expecting the system to overspread snow for the entire area. Sunday is really the day where we'll see the bulk of the snow arrive. The system is just now starting to come together, but look at the winter storm warnings that stretch from New Mexico all the way to Massachusetts. Impressive. That does include winter storm warnings for central Indiana. These are going to last all the way through Monday morning, and the reason because of that is the heavy snow that we're expecting. 8 to 12 inches for the metro. You go north from there and you get into some of those lower totals, that 5 inches of snow that we talked about, mainly Saturday afternoon, but it's going to snow for a prolonged period. Monday 6 a.m. is when we expect this to wrap up, probably really Sunday night as we turn into midnight, maybe 1 a.m. It's going to stay cold and breezy, so where we are right now with temperatures and wind chills, it's likely going to stay there, not budge a whole lot through early next week, maybe even into Tuesday or so. And keep in mind, with wind chills 10 below to maybe 10 above, that's your window, and that stays all weekend, even into next week, maybe even into next weekend. And there's going to be a good bit of blowing and drifting snow because we expect the winds to at least remain breezy all the way through the weekend and even into early next week. So there's your 8 to 12. You go north from there, and we do think some drier air is going to eat into a little bit of this. South from there, and we expect that the totals are going to go up. We could see some locations that surpass a foot of snow. We have bumped these up a little bit because it looks like this is going to really be kind of a fluffy, dry snow, one that may blow around easily. So your temperatures holding in the single digits through tonight into tomorrow. Once the snow starts falling and becomes moderate snow at times, it will snow from Saturday night all the way through to early Monday morning before we wrap things up. And look, the temperatures just don't move a whole lot. That is a prolonged period of snow. That means that we are expecting to pick up a good bit of snow. So how is the city preparing for this? To answer that, we go to Emily Longnecker, who's looking at city preps. Emily.
City has been preparing, and they talked about some of those preparations here today. The overwhelming message, though, from the mayor and city officials and emergency officials for this weekend is if you don't have to be out in these streets, it's a good idea to stay home. The National Weather Service was here today at this news conference, and they called the upcoming winter storm we're expecting impressive. Snow is expected, they said, to be at least 6 inches. Not to mention, they were talking about the bitter temperatures. They said with wind chills possibly negative 20 below. DPW says their crews will be working 12-hour shifts starting at 11 tonight. They'll be working 24/7 throughout this entire weekend and throughout the storm. They say they have enough salt to deal with this storm. Take a listen.
This will be a challenging weather event for our crews. Extremely cold temperatures will put added strain on both the equipment and personnel. The cold temperatures will significantly reduce the effectiveness of salt as a de-icing agent. When temperatures reach the point where the salt is no longer effective, crews will suspend salt application and adjust operations accordingly. That decision is made for safety and efficiency and a responsible use of materials.
And DPW talked about some of the places they'll be hitting first with the salt. Roads leading to hospitals, fire stations, bridges and overpasses, which are known to ice first. But again, the overwhelming message, and we've said it many times, if you don't have to be out here this weekend during this storm, the advice is don't be. But, you know, there are folks that will have to be out here, the news crews, but also emergency officials will be out here dealing with their share of challenges. And my colleague Logan Gay is here to talk about that. Logan?
Hey, yeah, you're right. That is right. First responders will also be impacted by this weather, and as a result, response times may be delayed. The Indianapolis Fire Department is reminding residents to use extra caution to prevent emergencies. If you're using space heaters, keep them away from anything flammable and never leave them unattended. And while a fire in the fireplace can be tempting during these cold temperatures, make sure you're only burning approved materials. All of this helps prevent unnecessary runs during already dangerous conditions. The fire department says extreme cold, especially when temperatures dip below zero, creates added challenges, including frozen hydrants. But officials say they have plans in place to handle it.
You always got to keep that water moving or it'll freeze up just like that too. Frozen hydrants, AES has a technician that responds to all working fires and ensure that the hydrants are working properly. If we do come across a frozen hydrant, we just got to find another one that's working, unfortunately.
And as a reminder, if you have a pet, it's city ordinance for you to bring your pet inside during these kind of conditions. And then, of course, if you have a true emergency, call 911. If not, call that non-emergency helpline. Scott, Ann, back to you.
All right, Logan, thanks so much. Okay, that's Indianapolis. What about the rest of central Indiana?
State agencies tonight mobilizing to make sure that emergency responses are ready to go if Hoosiers need some help. From the National Guard to Homeland Security, INDOT, and State Police, our Brandon Schaff continues our team coverage tonight. He's live from their operations center with the plan so far. Brandon?
Hey, good evening, Scott and Anne Marie. Those agencies will be right here at the Emergency Operations Center here in downtown Indianapolis, preparing for this winter weather. They'll be using the resources that you see here in this center, and you can see that there is plenty for them to be prepared for, and they are not quite here yet in these seats, but the EOC will begin operating tomorrow at noon. The Indiana Department of Homeland Security's partner agencies will be here. That includes their federal, state, and local levels. And here's an idea of how this works. Internal staff will receive important information like those stranded cars during the storm. The info is given to the people here at the EOC who can quickly decide how to help, and the National Weather Service will be here giving updates, as well as INDOT, ISP, the Indiana National Guard, Indiana DNR, and the American Red Cross. Indiana DHS sharing a message to Hoosiers, urging them to stay inside if they can during this severe weather event.
When we have snow like this that comes through and really extremely cold temperatures on the backside, we worry about people being stranded out on the roads, and it may take time to get those emergency crews out to you depending on the amount of snow. So just hang out inside, enjoy some relaxation, stay off the roads.
ISP echoing that same message of staying home, but saying that they'll have all hands on deck, increasing manpower between Saturday and Monday to help in this hazardous weather. Governor Mike Braun also activating the Indiana National Guard today. They'll be dispatching highway assistance teams where those guardsmen will patrol for stranded cars, transporting people to safe locations. And this collaborative effort here at this Emergency Operations Center will continue all the way through Monday, but they'll be keeping a close eye on this weather, and if it evolves and they need to stay open here, they will. Scott, Anne-Marie, back to you.
All right, Brandon Schaff here in Indianapolis. Thanks so much. And our weather team is keeping you up to date all weekend long. We've got forecasts on air, online, and extended coverage for you streaming over on WTHR+.
We know that when you keep the heat on during these winter storms, it's so crucial. It also is costly.
We've got the help available to Hoosiers if you see a spike in your monthly bill. Rob?
Those wind chills are really going to stay with us through the entire weekend forecast, even into next week. I don't see any change in that part of the forecast. We're timing the weekend snow and cold coming up.
But first on this Friday night, court documents tonight are uncovering wild details in the shooting of a Tippecanoe County judge and his wife.
The connections police are now drawing between the suspects and organized crime operations in Indiana. Ahead.